A bunch of conservatives got together in Arizona to roast Joe Arpaio. If you're unfamiliar with him, you must be living under a rock. He's one of the most controversial sheriffs in the country. And Representative John Kavanaugh went up there to do the roast, and he made a number of jokes at the expense of Muslims, Asians, Mexicans, and the federal monitor that's supposed to be overseeing what's happening in the police department there. In Maricopa County, the police department has been accused of a number of terrible things like ignoring sexual assault cases if it involves Hispanics. Now, let's go to the very first video where you can hear him making jokes about Muslims.
A lot of people claim that SB 1062 is going to cause discrimination based upon religion in Arizona. And I scoffed at that until tonight, when a Muslim waiter serving up here walked up to Sheriff Joe, wouldn't give him his dinner because he said, "I don't serve swine."
That's a joke against Joe Arpaio. That's okay.
That's not a bad joke.
No, that's okay.
So it kind of starts off that way, and when I listened to this entire 15-minute video, in the very beginning I was like, that's not bad. But then it kind of starts to get a little questionable, so I want you guys to judge. But I think that one was totally fine.
Yeah, by the way, Sheriff Joe was not happy about these jokes because some of them were pretty hard-hitting, and you heard some groans there. Yeah, and they were the federal monitors and that swine joke. At one point, he's trying to interact with him, right? This guy, Kavanaugh is. And he says, are they still doing the sweeps with the federal monitors? And Arpaio says to him, "I'll respond to you when you get done. That's enough." Whoa. Damn.
And it was because he was pointing to things that are absolutely true. Look, the jokes wouldn't be funny unless they were true, right?
And he wouldn't be Sheriff Joe if he could take a joke. Why are they roasting this guy? He's likely to lock them up immediately after the ceremonies.
Right. So in the next video, you'll hear him making jokes about Sheriff Joe and Asians.
Sheriff Joe served in the Spanish-American War. What? Oh, Korea? All these years, I figured he was rounding up Hispanics because he had a grudge from the Spanish-American War. So if you were in the Korean War, how come you're not rounding up Asians?
Again, I'm not that offended by the reference to Hispanics or Asians there. It's more of a joke about Sheriff Joe. I'm with Anna. I heard the rest. It's going to get worse. But there, I'm more offended by the people laughing in the room.
That's exactly right. This is happening. It's been acknowledged. And people are like, yeah, it's hilarious. He rounds up all those Hispanics.
Besides which, it was a terrible frickin' joke.
Well, which is that one?
Yeah.
It's an old joke.
It's a joke about that he's old.
He's old.
Yeah. Spanish American.
That's why he's rounding up Mexicans. He is old. Those back Mexicans.
See, that was much better than that.
Also, by the way, you have a Mexican-American war. There was actually a Mexican-American war. Maybe you use that one.
Why don't use that?
Yeah.
Going out with Sheriff Joe is always an adventure. Because usually when we walk into a restaurant, most of the wait staff and cooks dive out the back window. And when they don't, I never know what the hell's in my food. Here's a great one. Get him! Sick him! And I was worried tonight because I didn't wear my "I'm not Joe Arpaio" shirt.
So when he says "sick 'em," is he pointing to a waiter in the audience or something? Is that what he says? Or is he pointing to Joe Arpaio saying "sick 'em" to the waiter?
Unfortunately, I don't know. We only have audio. There wasn't video of the event.
Okay.
But I think, again, what Jenk said is right. It's not so much the jokes, but it's just the acknowledgement that he does these things and the laughter about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, but if we're saying the jokes are okay, then laughing at the jokes has to be okay too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. But you're there to support Joe Arpaio. So if we're laughing, we don't like Joe Arpaio. They're there, they like Joe Arpaio. That's why they're there for a dinner for him. So they're laughing at the horrible shit. It'd be like sitting there if they were roasting Hitler and people were making, he put the Jews in the oven. He does. He does put the Jews in the oven. Look at that. So So that's
Yeah, but
so that's,
that wouldn't be funny.
that wouldn't be funny. But see, this is funny because we don't like Joe Arpaio. They're laughing because they do like Joe
They do
Arpaio.
like
That's what
him.
makes it.
Yeah, and that one is more directed at Latinos. So the wait staff
Yes.
is and the guys.
Yeah, like I like
cleaning
the
dishes,
diving out the
they're all
windows. Then
Latinos.
that.
I mean, it's pretty benign. It's pretty
Yes.
mild stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm more offended throughout this whole thing that they're laughing at totally unfunny stuff. But you know, there he's definitely directing more towards Latinos. And you guys are right. Look, so is there a boundary here when you're talking about political figures and roasting? First of all, I actually wouldn't roast political figures. I think it's a bad idea overall, right? I like roasts. I love roasts,
Yeah, me
right?
too.
But when you get into political figures, you're going to get into dicey territory, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I hated during the White House Correspondents' Dinner when Karl Rove and David Gregory and all the press that danced together. I couldn't stand that, right? I don't like it when Obama jokes about drones. Like, you want to joke about Obamacare or stuff like taxes, I can live. Of course, that's fine. I know they got to joke about it every once in a while. We don't want to be like stiffs about it, and we joke around about a lot of stuff. But it's uncomfortable when the guy doing the drone strikes then jokes around like, I killed all those innocent people. Like they just hit a wedding in Yemen and killed 15 people.
Yeah, you
don't
You can't
do that.
you can't go to a Joan Crawford roast and make jokes about wire hangers, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Oh.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Right? This is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm on your side on this.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Just to show you how unreasonable the federal monitor is, they're already demanding changes. First change is that when Sheriff Joe sends his new deputies to the academy, he will no longer just train them to do the Miranda warning in Spanish. He will have to teach it in English too. And the sign over the booking intake door in the jail, it will have to have welcome and just not bienvenido. And with that, adios.
So they're making fun of Joe Arpaio for being his racist policing policies.
Yep.
But they're also laughing that it's funny that he's a racist policing policy.
That's exactly
So that's the
right.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are okay jokes.
Yeah.
Like if I made those jokes, those would be fantastic. It's not that
It's
they're
the
laughing. It's
intentions
why they're
behind, yeah.
laughing.
Yeah.
They're not laughing at the same reason we're laughing. They're laughing at it for like a little bit of a different reason.
Let me ask the professional comedian, why is that joke even, I get it, we all know it's not really funny.
Right.
But what is the structural intent of when Sheriff Joe sends his new deputies to the academy, he'll no longer
Okay.
just train them to do Miranda warning in Spanish, he'll have to teach it in English too.
So it means that he's a racist and
Yeah.
he's only persecuting Mexicans, right? And that's what that. So that's why now you're going to have to pretend like you're enforcing the law against whites.
Like you would ever arrest a white
you would
guy
have-
and have
yeah.
to know Miranda
But-
warnings in English.
I got you.
I had to listen to it 3 times to understand
Okay,
the
all
joke.
right.
That's
I got
the
it.
first time I'm a professional.
Right.
Okay.
He really nailed the sign over the booking intake door. Door in the jail will have to say welcome and not just bienvenido.
I thought it said Ben and Vito.